everyone! I hope that you're having a wonderful day so far. Today, we will be going through the final drawings for the Inktober challenge of 2023. I believe we have 8 whole drawings to cover today, so let's get started, shall we? Alright, so for those of you who may not have seen the previous videos on Inktober, we are following a prompt list called Ghostober by FlukeLady, and here you can see a list of the prompts here. So this is the prompt list that I've been following this whole month. For day 24, the prompt was Ghost Vacation. So as you can see here, I'm going with a beach theme for this little vacation. I start out by drawing a little beach lounge chair, and then I plop a sheet ghost on there and give him some very large sunglasses. Like, those things are massive, but hey, that is just how much they are chillin'. They are relaxing, they are living their best life, and sometimes you just need some really giant sunglasses. We have a little drink in their hand, we got a beach ball over there, got some sand everywhere, and then we can just barely see some waves poking in. With this one, I really thought that the border I made was kind of an interesting shape to use. It's like an archway kind of shape, and I actually think it goes nicely. It's different than the stereotypical square that I've done for a lot of drawings, and I like it. I think it gives it some character. I'm using a felt tip marker to do the outline for this one because the details aren't too tiny, so generally whenever I have a drawing that's not extremely detailed, I tend to go with a thicker line art style. So for this one, I was a little curious how the end result would end up, because normally when you're at the beach it's super sunny out, right? And I was like, ooh, I've been making the sky really dark in these photos as if it's nighttime, and I wasn't really sure how to approach this one since you're normally at the beach when it's sunny. So I started with the sand first. I was like, okay, I'll put the sand color down and then go for the sky. And I do make the sky dark-ish, but it wasn't a pitch black like I had done in some of the previous drawings. So I think that helped convey that, okay, it's not necessarily nighttime here, like the water is even darker than the sky is. So that was one thing that was unique about this picture in particular, just the fact that it wasn't during a nighttime setting. But I mean, this ghost is on vacation, right? So the ghost deserves a little bit of sunlight, if I do say so myself. But since the sky is so much lighter, this picture really has a different feel compared to a lot of them, I think. It's crazy how much one little detail can change the whole mood of a drawing. But as you're drawing, you make a bunch of small little decisions, and all of those decisions eventually lead up to the finished piece that you see before you, and I think it's one of the really interesting things about art, honestly. Every single little detail would give the finished piece a completely different experience if it was changed. And that is just something that I find really interesting about art. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this piece in particular. So here is the final result for day 24, Ghost Vacation. Alright, so day 25 has the prompt of Blood Soaked. Now, I sat there for a long time trying to think of ideas for what I could do for this one, because a lot of the ideas I was getting for the prompt Blood Soaked were gory ideas, and I'm not super interested in overly gory stuff. A lot of the drawings I've been making for Inktober thus far have been really kind of wholesome, spoopy, cute drawings, and I wanted to keep that up, so I was like, alright, how can I incorporate blood into this in a way that will still feel kind of charming or funny even? So I drew a little sheet ghost here, and it's holding a little knife, and I do put blood on the bottom of the little sheet ghost here. It's kind of just spattered throughout. And then eventually, well, I was sitting there trying to think of, okay, I want some kind of a catchphrase to go on this. I don't want it to just be a drawing, I actually wanted words. And so eventually I write out the words, "Give me your kidney." Just one kidney. Just one. Singular. Not both kidneys. No. Just one kidney. And it's just so ridiculous that this one had a bit of a humorous aspect, for me at least. I love this dumb kind of humor. I don't even know what kind of humor to call this, but it's just ridiculous. Especially considering the fact that it's singular kidney and not kidneys. I'm one of those people who sometimes will purposely speak incorrectly just because I think it sounds funny, so yeah, the internet has ruined my sense of humor. I've spent far too much time on Tumblr growing up. The internet has broken me, essentially. As you can see, Kiki was on my lap for a little bit of this. You can see her pop her head into the frame just for a moment, and it's always nice to have a little helper as I'm drawing. So with this one specifically, I really liked the shape of this ghost. The way it flows out at the bottom, I really liked how it turned out. And since this drawing was pretty simple in concept and there wasn't a background or anything, I wanted to make sure it was nice and clean, because whenever you have a really simple design, it's very easy to spot mistakes within it. So whenever I have pieces like this that are overly simplified, it's best to kind of take care to make sure the lines are clean, the shapes are nice, and that everything looks nice and clean. Because otherwise, it will just not look very good, honestly. It's kind of like, if I was just to draw a circle, everyone would be able to tell whether or not it was a good circle or not. So it's the same thing here. Simple things are not necessarily always easier to draw because there's more room for error, in the sense of people can tell if you're making a mistake with a simple drawing. But yeah, I pop in some color there to, signify that that's some blood at the end. And I feel like I did a decent job of capturing, there is blood in the photo, but it's not scary and it's not overly gory. It's just kind of a comical drawing. And I like that about this piece. So yeah, here's the finished product of day 25, Blood Soaked. Alright, so day 26 has the prompt of Ghost Dinner. This one I thought was a really charming one, personally. I essentially just wanted to have a nice candlelit dinner between a ghost couple. So I start out drawing the table in the center with a nice draped tablecloth over it, and we have a couple little stool seats for the ghosts. One ghost we have already seated at the table, looking over at the other ghost who is standing there about to take his seat. When I was drawing the second ghost, I was struggling a little bit to make sure that the bottom of that ghost wasn't blending in with the tablecloth too much, because they both have the same exact flowy shapes as each other, and they were kind of ending on the same plane, so I had to fiddle around with it a little bit just to make sure that you could tell the difference between the tablecloth and the ghost there in the background. I really enjoy the tiny hat I gave the standing ghost. I think it's so cute and charming, and I felt like it added a lot of character to the ghost. And then, of course, this has to be a nice romantic candlelit dinner, so put some candles on the table, I'll draw some plates with some food on it. I'm not exactly sure what the food is, to be honest, so I was just like, okay, general steak shape with, I don't know, like a mashed potato or some kind of veggie blob. It was a little small, so I didn't want to put a bunch of details into it, but yes, generic food shapes. The border shape I chose to go with for this one was a circle in the background. Something about the border being behind them and not completely surrounding the entire thing makes the scene seem a little bit more intimate in a way. It's like honing in on this moment that the little ghost couple is having together, instead of focusing on all the stuff that's going on around them. So in a way, having the circle be smaller than the actual scene itself makes it feel more intimate, I think. I don't know, I could be thinking too much into things, but that's how I see it anyway. Because I'm imagining if I was to make the circle bigger than everything and completely engulf everything, it just wouldn't feel as close up and personal as it does with the table and the ghosts being front and center. So I think the smaller circle in the background was a good choice. as you can see, I actually did the eyes on these ghosts a little bit different for this picture. It was mostly just a little outline, and I left the whites on the inside of the eyes. I was looking at a bunch of pictures of how people stylize different ghosts, and I'm not sure who made it, but I remember coming across one image where someone left the eyes hollow like that, and I thought that was really interesting, so I kind of wanted to try it out in this piece, instead of my normal blackened eyeballs with the little highlights in the corners. And I actually think that those eyes were pretty fitting for this drawing. I don't think I did that style of eye in any of the others, but it was interesting to try out for sure, and I do like the effect that it had. I wanted to put just a tiny pop of color in this piece, so I got out a yellow and I colored in the fire at the very center there. And then, yeah, that was all for this drawing. So here's the finished piece for Day 26 Ghost Dinner. So for Day 27, the prompt was twins. And I was racking my brain trying to think of famous twins I could try to emulate for this one. Because I was like, well, a lot of the ghosts I draw do look very similar. Like, what, do I just draw two identical she-ghosts and call it good? That didn't really sound fun to me. So I remembered that in Alice in Wonderland, there's the twins Tweedledee and Tweedledum. So I thought, hey, why not draw them? So here we have a little drawing with Tweedledee and Tweedledum in ghost form. The ghost next to them is supposed to be Alice. One thing that I'm very glad I did is on the shape of Tweedledee and Tweedledum, I decided to give them the little wispy, thin ghost tails to really accentuate how round the rest of them is, because if you look at the original designs for Tweedledee and Tweedledum, they are quite plump and quite round. So if I had stuck with the other normal shape I used for Alice, for example, it just wouldn't have quite had the same effect. So I am glad that I switched their tails to the thin wispy ones. And then it gives a nice contrast between them and Alice, who looks like she does have a dress on because of the way the sheet is laying over the ghost. I really enjoyed making this piece. It's been so long since I've seen Alice in Wonderland, and I should really revisit it because it's such a whimsical movie, and it's a lot of fun. I remember my favorite part was always the little story about the little clams. It was really tragic how it ended, but I always remember those tiny clams and thinking how cute they were. And I also really like the part with the flowers that were singing in the forest. Yeah, those were my two favorite parts of the movie. So for this one, I really wanted to incorporate some color to it so you could really tell who they were supposed to be. Because I feel like if I had used black and white for this one, it would have been a lot harder to tell who exactly I was trying to draw here. So the color coding at least helps get the message across that it's supposed to be Tweedledee and Tweedledum and Alice. So yeah, that's why I decided to go with color for this one. As you can see, I did a lot of swatching in the back to make sure that the colors would work with each other, essentially. Because obviously with marker, once you put it down, you can't erase it, so it's usually good to check and make sure that the colors are working with each other the way you want before you put them down on the picture. One thing I will say, I think the trees definitely got lost a bit in the background. Since I was using a pitch black for the trees, I thought it would stand out more compared to the really dark blue I was using, but turns out the blue was just a lot darker than I had initially thought it was, so that's kind of unfortunate, but the good news is the trees aren't the focus of this picture. Like, we're mainly focusing on the characters in the foreground, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But that is one thing that I feel could be improved on that picture a little bit. And it did help a little whenever I highlighted the sides of the trees with that white marker, so you could at least tell that something was there at least. So it's better than just leaving them as they were, for sure. But yeah, so this is the finished piece for Day 27 with the prompt of twins. Okay, so Day 28 had the prompt of costume, and I was thinking about different characters that I could potentially try to turn into a she-ghost, and For whatever reason, Hatsune Miku kept coming to my mind. So I was like, alright, fine, I'll draw a Miku ghost, why not? But it's so funny that she was the one who was kind of stuck in my brain because, honestly, I don't even know Hatsune Miku all that well. Like, I know a couple of her songs, but in reality, I don't actually know that much about Miku. I do own a little Miku figurine that I got in Akihabara. It is the Snow White Miku figurine, and I think it's super cute. Okay, can I just say, every time I go into an anime store here in Japan, like, the amount of Miku figurines there are always blows my mind because there's millions of them. Like, is there anyone on the planet who owns every single Miku figurine? Surely not, right? Because there's so many of them. Like, I'm a little impressed, to be honest, how many Miku figurines there are in the world, but they're all so pretty and so cute in their own way, and I love them. Even though I don't know very many of her songs, I do really like Hatsune Miku's design a lot. And, you know, coming from someone with blue hair, I can appreciate the blue hair. But yeah, so I'm basically just drawing a little ghost with Hatsune Miku's outfit on it, and her iconic blue pigtails. And then she is holding a leek in this picture, because, you know, there's all of the classic Miku photos with her in the leek. We got some music notes in the background, because, you know, Hatsune Miku is a singer, after all. And this is another one that I decided to use the color with. But I mean, come on, you can't just draw Hatsune Miku and not put color down, because she's got those beautiful, massive blue pigtails, and you just have to put color on them. I'm sorry, but that's the rules. And also, just like with the last drawing with the twins, the color would help people to know who exactly this ghost was supposed to be. And I'm pretty confident that anyone who knows who Hatsune Miku is would be able to tell that this is Hatsune Miku, just in ghost form. So we have the skirt here, and I didn't exactly copy her shirt all the way, but I did a little shorthand for her shirt where I put her tie and a little collar. Ow! I just smacked my arm on the counter. Ah! It's fine, I'm fine. But anyway, yeah, I put her little tie and like the collar of her shirt there as a kind of shorthand for her shirt, because I did still want this to look like a ghost, and I felt like if I put the gray of her shirt all over, then it wouldn't even look like it was a ghost anymore. It was just like a weird blobby version of Hatsune Miku, so that's why I did that, because I wanted a little more of the white of the ghost to show, essentially. Part of me wonders if I should have had another tail coming out from the skirt, but whenever I was initially drawing this, I was thinking, okay, yeah, like, the bottom of the skirt there is the ghost shape, like that's just the bottom of the ghost, but in hindsight, I feel like it probably would have been better to include a little wispy tail coming out of the skirt. I just think it would have made more sense to the viewer. But all in all, I don't think the drawing is bad by any means, so I'm still content with it. But yeah, here is day 28 with the prompt of costume. Alright, day 29. The word for this one was black cat, and this is the only day in the entirety of Ghostober where I did not draw some form of, like, stereotypical sheet ghost, but there's a reason for that. So, this is actually a character of mine. This is Toast, and the reason I am drawing Toast is because Toast is a ghost cat. Toast is a character in a webcomic that I'm in the planning stages of. So I can't really get into the story too much necessarily because, you know, the story's not out yet and I'm still planning it, so some things are likely to change. But I can say that Toast is a ghost cat. Toast is the pet to the main characters that the story follows. And yeah, he's just like a little black cat with these giant white eyes, and Toast is essentially the animal companion of the story. So whenever I saw the prompts of black cat, I was like, yes, here we go. Allow me to draw one of my characters. Thank you very much. And I really enjoyed getting the chance to draw Toast for this prompt. And I just had a lot of fun with it. I actually got the name Toast from one of my previous college classmates. She had this bearded dragon named Toast, and I thought that name was just so funny for a pet. That bearded dragon was so angry too. It was a rescue, Toast, the bearded dragon was. And whenever Toast was kind of nursed back to health and his personality kind of started to show a bit, he woke up and chose violence. He was the angriest little bearded dragon, but we all loved him for it. Toast was an icon, and Toast was amazing. And I just thought that would be a good name for this character of mine, and thankfully my classmate was gracious enough to say that they were fine with me using that name for this character of mine, so a big thanks for that, because the name Toast for this little character I think is just adorable. Now, as you will see, I have these like glowing blue orbs on the candles instead of a fire. That is related to a story element as well that, you know, I can't really get into right now, but there is a reason for that not being fire. And I just think it looks cool. Little glowing blue orbs. Whenever I was drawing this initially, and I started to draw in the brown shape in the background, I was like, oh no, did I just ruin this whole drawing? I was really, really not liking the brown background, and I was a little horrified. I was like, oh no, I really liked how this drawing was turning out, and I don't know how I feel about this brown in the background, but looking back at it later, after stepping aside for a moment and taking a break, I do still like the drawing. Even though I did put that brown in the background, I don't think I ruined it like I initially thought. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to this piece. So here is the result for day 29, Black Cat. Okay, so day 30. So the official prompt for day 30 was Seance, but I personally didn't have much interest in drawing that prompt, so I decided to go with another free day for this one. It was the second free day out of Inktober that I kind of made for myself here. So I sat down, and this day I really felt like drawing a cozy scene. So I start out with a nice big armchair and a little ghost just reading a book in this armchair. I'm going for cozy, rainy day, reading a book vibes with this piece. Because for me, that's something I really enjoy getting to do. On a nice rainy day, you get all cozy, you have a nice fuzzy blanket, and you just read a good book while listening to the rain on the roof. That is peak cozy for me right there. Maybe, you know, a cat on my lap so I can pet. The dog curled up by me, perhaps. Yeah, that's the life right there. So I have a little window here so I can actually convey that it is raining outside. Of course, you can't read in the dark, so I put a lamp in there. And then I have a nice little plant in the corner there. So yeah, this is a pretty cozy drawing. I go on with my little brush pen here to do the line art for this. I really liked the way this ghost turned out. I don't know what it is specifically, but I think this ghost in particular turned out really cute for some reason. Something about the way it's shaped, I guess, just turned out really nicely, I think. So with this drawing, we go back to our usual grayscale markers. We had several color drawings in a row, which was not very normal for this challenge. So here we are back to the classic black and white. And as you can see, I'm doing some swatching in the back just to make sure that I'm not having things blend into each other too much. So I'm checking the colors to see how dark they actually are on the paper. I end up making the wall and the floor pretty dark, but that way there's a lot of contrast between, you know, the room and the ghost itself. So that was pretty intentional. I end up completely blacking out the plants there, and I feel like it gets lost a little bit. It's not awful, and I mean, frankly, it's not the main point of the drawing, but I do wish the plant was standing out a little bit more than it does. I put in some quick shading there to give some depth to the room and make it look like there's actually light coming from the lamp. And of course, this can't be a nice cozy reading day without drawing some rain out the window. And I feel like that truly is just the cherry on top for this drawing, and it really brings the cozy vibes together. So here it is, the completed picture for day 30. Alright, day 31, the final day of Inktober, ladies and gentlemen. The prompt for this one was trick or treat, which, you know, is topical since that is the day of Halloween. So I essentially just drew a little ghost here holding a jack-o'-lantern candy bag and throwing some candy into the air in celebration. This was another one of the ghosts where I really liked the shape I got for it. The way it flows on the bottom, I feel like, is just nice looking. And the candy that they're throwing, I've got like candy corn, lollipops, and some kind of candy in a little wrapper thing. Maybe some chocolate, perhaps? This one was one of the few drawings that was in color again. So much color for this week. I don't know what got into me, but this week for Inktober, I really said, let there be color. Because I was like, alright, I'm drawing candy, and I feel like you have to include color when you're drawing candy, right? Because there's so many different kinds of candy, and they're also vibrant in the way that they're packaged, so I wanted to use color for this one to really emphasize the color in the candy specifically. Although I will say, I'm not sure how I feel about the colors I used for this. I don't know, they seem to clash a little bit, I think. Particularly the green that I chose to use in the background. I do, however, like that in the background I made this really spiky, explosive type shape because I think it gives it a lot of energy and emphasizes that it's like an exciting drawing. I mean, there's candy flying everywhere, it's a holiday, you know, everyone's getting treats, so it's supposed to be like a happy, exciting time. So yeah, as you can see, I'm swatching out the colors, although, you know, like I said before, I don't know how I feel about the colors I ended up using, but to be fair, I did have to use kind of a lot of colors, so the more colors you add to a drawing, the harder it is to make it look cohesive. There are a lot of times where working with a limited color palette actually is in your favor, because if you only have a few colors, it makes everything look nice and complete and together, versus like a lot of random colors that have really no relation to one another. So I feel like it was maybe the green or that purplish color I used for the chocolates that kind of clashes with each other. So maybe if I had swapped out one of those two, I would like it better, but either way, I still don't hate the drawing. I think the overall shape of everything is really fun, and it's the final day of Inktober after all. Like, we did it, we got through the whole monthly challenge, and that alone is a feat. I will say, I got sick a couple times in October, so sometimes I would have to do makeup days where I'd draw more than once in a day. But, you know, I can't really help it if I get sick, so the fact that I still did all 31 of the drawings, I call that a success, personally. Even if I didn't manage to draw every single day, I still got them all done. So, yeah, those are all of the drawings from this week. Do let me know which one was your favorite from this week. Personally, I think my favorite was the free day where I drew the cozy book reading by the rain. It's not the most complicated of drawings, but I do really like how it turned out, and I think that drawing in particular is just really, really cute, so that one was my favorite out of the batch. I appreciate all of you for watching this far and coming along with me on this Inktober journey for the year. Do make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, it really helps me out. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And with that, bye guys, see you next time!